Happy Monday, everybody. It is about 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in New York City. We are here at NYU Stern School of Business, and we're going to be talking about ZoomInfo's earnings. So ticker symbol ZI reported earnings today after the bell, after the close on Wall Street. We had a little bit of an earnings beat, nothing too crazy, but we did have a beat on both the top and the bottom line. So we'll talk a little bit about that today on the stream as we walk to Penn Station, as we are commuting home. It's only going to be a short stream tonight, guys. Probably only about 1 hour because I do need to get home. Melanie Sam is here. Vinny Castellano says, hey, Tom. What's up, Melanie? John Craig says, hi, Tom. Paul Greenwell says, hi, Tom. I have a new kitten. Awesome, Paul. Love that. Great news. Happy Monday, Paul. New Jersey Water Drain says, hey, hey. Fred T says, hey. George Lopez. What's going on, George Lopez? Tyrese says, hi, Tom. Sierra Friend says, hey, Tom. What's up, Sierra? Hope everybody's well. So we're here at NYU. But we are going to be commuting to the Moynihan train station because I do have to head home. Dante Rose says, hey, Tom, stay safe out there. Marilyn Ringo says, hello, watching from the number 6 train, the Bronx headed back to Manhattan. Very cool, Marilyn. Hope you had a good day. Miss Mo. What is up, Miss Mo? Michelle Cunningham says, happy Monday. Ed Potke from Corning, New York says, hey, Tom, sunshine after rain says, good to see you, Tom. Good to see you, too. We are at the NYU Stern School of Business. Everybody's actually just getting out of class. When are you flying home? So I will fly back to Miami, Florida tomorrow. Jetstar says, looking forward to seeing you back in Florida. Appreciate that. Sally says, beautiful night. Michelle Cunningham, welcome everybody. Hope you're all well. So it was a pretty busy day today, but we're gonna have a pretty quick stream because I do have to catch a train. But tonight we are going to be talking about a company called ZoomInfo. And ZoomInfo is essentially a piece of software that helps sales and marketing organizations attract and close new deals. When I was in tech sales at my previous employer, we used ZoomInfo quite a bit. And ever since I started using their products, ever since they became a publicly traded company, I've initiated coverage on the stock. And they've been growing and beating expectations ever since. Kim Grant says, hi, Tom. Good to be back from a week in the hospital with no internet. Kim, so good to have you back. Marilyn says, did you hear about the stupid law banning drinking straws? It's ridiculous. Yeah, I saw that too. I don't think they banned drinking straws, but in New York City, if you want a straw, you have to ask on special request. Hey, Gerald Lee says, hey, Tom, how are you? What's up, Gerald Lee? Long time no see. Hope you're well. Swing Boxes is here. Alice says, hi, Tom, everybody in the chat. So we are here at the NYU Stern School of Business as we talk a lot about it on the channel. Aswat Damadoran is a very well-known professor here at the NYU School of Business. Debbie, what's up, Debbie? So we're going to be commuting home, so we'll head out now. I'll give you guys one more look at the Stern School of Business. Gerald Lee says, hey, Tom, how are you? I'm doing really well, Gerald. Hope you had a good, happy Halloween. Back to business now. It is Monday. Holidays are over, unfortunately. First day of November, so happy November to everybody in the chat. It's freezing out here in New York, so I think it's a pretty good time to get back to Miami. What is up, everybody? So real quick, if you guys just put ticker symbol or exclamation point ZI, so Z as in zebra, I as an I, in the chat, it'll drop a link to ZoomInfo's earnings report, in which case you guys can look through it yourself. But I really wanted to highlight this company because this is sort of the characteristics for companies that I look for in investment. Well, what we want to see is not only companies that are meeting their earnings expectations. So the way it works is analysts on Wall Street from the major investment banks and hedge funds will initiate coverage on a particular stock. And they will do their financial models and they'll say, you know, I think that ZoomInfo should earn about 15 cents this quarter on revenues of, let's say, $100 million. That is the analyst's expectations. So we really want to see companies hitting analyst expectations or exceeding those expectations, as well as raising expectations for future quarters. And that's exactly what ZoomInfo has done. So ticker symbol ZI reported earnings after the bell today. They came in with a penny beat on the EPS, so 13 cents EPS as opposed to 12 cents expected. So an earnings surprise of about 8% or 8.33. Revenue also beat. So revenue came in at about 197.6 million, beating analyst expectations by 7.80%. And revenue grew 60% year over year. So that means from the previous quarter last year, revenue grew 60%. That is phenomenal. One of the other things that I liked about this earnings report that just came out is after the report was finished, they said, you know, we're doing so well that we are actually going to increase our forward guidance for future quarters. So they increased their full year revenue target for the fiscal year, as well as their EPS or earnings per share. They increased their EPS target for the entire fiscal year. So very good report. We'll talk a little bit about it today on the stream as we commute back to the Moynihan train station. Hey, photos from around New York's here. Says, hello, NYU Stern. What is up, photos? Hope you're well. Diego says, hey, Tom, how are you? I'm doing very well, Diego. Roy says, happy November, Tom and everybody. Marilyn Ringel, sunshine after rain. We got a full house today, guys. Floob, how? Murky, what is up? So the weather in New York City tonight, I'm freezing. I don't know about you guys, but I'm absolutely freezing here. Murky says it looks chilly. I'm freezing. I'm definitely freezing, but it is November, so it is to be expected. It is to be expected, but I should be back in New York probably a couple days before Thanksgiving. Diego says living in New York City or Miami. I'll be back in Miami tomorrow, but I will be back and forth. 05 from Corpus Christi, Texas. Hope you're well. Sally says, yes, it's cold. War Walker says, hi, Tom. Hope you had a good day. I did. Very busy day, but it was a good day. Very productive day. I got to be up early. My flight takes off at about 7 o'clock. I think 7 o'clock in the morning. So Michelle Cunningham says, did you miss your train last night? No, I was right on time. I was right on time for the train last night, so we were all good. Photos from around New York says, I'm next to the heater warming up. Yeah, I got to do some jumping jacks before the stream every time I stream in New York, because after October, it should be getting pretty cold. No, but I did make the train last night, so all good. Everything is fine. Sunshine After Rain says that's great. War Walker, good to see you. Sally, what is up? Murky. Diego says living in New York City or Miami. I'll be back and forth between both. I'll definitely be back and forth. Jackie Jackson says, hi, Tom and everybody. Caught you early. What's up, Jackie Jackson? It'll be a short stream tonight. Very short stream tonight, everybody, as we walk back to the Moynihan train station. MB says, good evening, Tom. What's up, MB? So everybody, a quick update on the Behind the Street. It's too long to put up on the YouTube community page, so I have to figure out another way to upload it. So I may create a Medium page. I may create a Medium page and put it up on that page. Hey, Melee is here. Says, hey, Tom. What's up, Melee? Hope you're well. We're walking on Green Street here near New York University. Mr. Howard says, sup, Tom? What's up, Mr. Howard? Photos from around New York says, don't forget to bring your jacket when you go to Florida. When you come back, you'll need it. Indeed. Indeed, we will. Sally says, nothing much, Tom. I'm okay. It was fun yesterday. Yeah, yesterday on the stream was absolutely crazy. For those of you who were able to join, we did a sort of like a fun Halloween stream in New York City. It was so packed. It was refreshing to see because people are coming back. I mean, there was so many people out in the streets. It was fantastic. Joey says, good evening, Tom. What is up, Joey? Dave says, it's great to see you tonight, Tom. Right back at you, Dave. Black Angel says, hello, Tom. What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? I see MB here. So for those just joining, we did a quick coverage of ZoomInfo. ZoomInfo is a software tool that really helps, and it's a phenomenal tool because I've actually used it personally and continue to use it personally in my everyday business life. It's a phenomenal tool that helps sales and marketing agencies or departments and companies really prospect for new business and close new business as well. So it's a phenomenal product. The company's name is ZoomInfo, ZI. Now, it does trade at a pretty frothy premium valuation, but as we talk about a lot about on the channel, you know, companies tend to trade at premium valuations for a reason. You know, if we look back at the last 4 earnings reports of ZoomInfo, they actually beat expectations 4 out of 4 times on the revenue category and EPS. So they beat analyst expectations every single time. Jeremias Allen says, Tom, missing New York like crazy. Jeremias, you got to come back. MB says, looks like people are still from yesterday's celebration. Cosmo says, good evening, Tom. What's up, Cosmo? Scary, good to have you here. Sally says, you're welcome. Photos from around New York says, did they open the park back up? I don't think so. I mean, I walked past it. It didn't look open today. Hey, Alfred says, did you post a bulletin that you were talking about? Alfred, I couldn't because it was too long. YouTube will not let me post the Behind the Street newsletter because it is too long, so I have to figure out another alternative. So please stand by, and I apologize for the wait. Frank Gonzalez says, hello, Tom. What is your take with IBM overall, AI Cloud? Do you own stakes? Curious, I don't hear you talking about them much. Yeah, I mean, so if you look at IBM, they've pretty much lost all of their innovation in my view. So if you look at their revenue growth, right, their revenue growth has been pretty much stagnant over the past 7 or 8 years. So it's just like a gigantic company, and the majority of their revenue actually comes from consulting services. That's just really not my style. I mean, you know, IBM does have their cloud platform that they're trying to get off the ground. I don't really think too much about it. There's so much other merchandise on the market that is growing at a compounded annualized rate much faster than IBM is in much larger total addressable markets. So I like to, not to say that IBM is a bad company, but you just have to weigh your cost benefit analysis as opposed to opportunity cost, right? So what is the opportunity cost if I, you know, invest into a company like IBM with decelerating earnings and decelerating sales, and if I could just move that money to, you know, a different security or company that's growing their earnings at a much faster rate than a company like IBM. So hopefully that makes sense. Poca Gilla says, hi Tom, how are you? We are back now in Uruguay. Very cool. We just arrived from New York. Miss it a lot. Well, I hope you had a good time. Hope you had a good time in New York. Cosmo Scary says, Tom, question for you. Do you use ZocDoc to make doctor's appointments? I personally don't. I don't. Cosmo, what about you? Cheeky Bear says, hello. Mariana says, buenos noches, Tom from Argentina. What's up, everybody from Argentina? 05 says, Tom, when does the New York light up for Christmas lights? Hopefully we can see what it looks like on your streams. That probably will be, I want to say maybe like a week before Thanksgiving, because every single time I'm in the city for Thanksgiving, all the Christmas lights are already up already. So I'm going to say about a week before. You never know, maybe even sooner. If a couple nights ago on the stream, we actually walked past Radio City Music Hall, and they already had the Christmas tree at the top of Radio City. Hey, Joey says, hey, Tom. What's up, Joey? Cosmo Scary says, wow, Uruguay. I want to go there. I want to go there. Nathan says, cool. What's up, Nathan? Hope you're well. Let's see if I'm missing anybody. But Cosmo, I'm going to check out ZocDoc. I've never made an appointment on there before. But that was a good question about IBM. I'm not saying IBM's a bad company, but I think with all of you have to look at an investment thesis as which company deserves my money the most, right? So you can put your money in IBM with decelerating sales and decelerating earnings growth, or you could seek out another company in a larger total addressable market that is growing their revenues and growing their earnings at a much faster pace than a big company like IBM. That's sort of the way I think about it. But they're trying to really market their IBM Watson product. If anybody's familiar with IBM Watson, I was actually in an interview process for an account executive or an enterprise account executive for IBM Watson. selling into the healthcare space. I did not take the job. Frank Gonzalez's makes sense 100%. Yeah, so Frank, I think like if we want to talk about like a company like Alphabet, Google, right? You know, on an EPS basis, they're growing well over 25% per annum. And the last earnings report that just rolled out, if we take the subsegment of their Google Cloud platform, their operating loss was about $614 million. So the average person would look at that and be like, well, that's horrible, that's terrible. Well, it's actually not, because 2 quarters ago, their operating loss was about 1.6 billion. So every single quarter, they're narrowing that operating loss. So can you imagine when that Google Cloud unit turns profitable? That's gonna hit the bottom line, and that could send the stock much higher than it already is now. Hey, Thiago says, hi, Tom, here from Brazil. What's up, everybody from Brazil? 48, I did get the train last night. I just made it. Matthew P says, howdy, partner. What's up, Matthew? 48 says, hi, Tom. How are you this evening? I am doing extremely well. I hope you are well, too. Vincent says, Informatica is back. Headless Horseman says, sup. What's up, Headless Horseman? Jetstar, how is New York City dealing with fire and police off the job for not getting the vaccination? So I think that's going to all rectify itself in my eyes. You know, if it really gets bad, I don't think the city will allow it to get to a point where the public is going to be in danger. So they'll probably just keep kicking the can down the road until they can really come to a conclusion. So I'm not too worried about it. But it is definitely convoluted for sure. Hey, Mark Davis is here. Says, good evening there, Tom. Hope all is well with you. Yeah, so Mark, I'm actually going to Miami tomorrow morning. I couldn't go today because the flights were ridiculous. But tomorrow I got a very cheap flight for like $49, $50. But Mark Davis is our pal from Toronto, Canada. He works in the medical marijuana space. Always interesting to hear about the medical marijuana space from our pal Mark Davis. 48 says, glad you made the train. Thank you, 48. But Jetstar, good question. Very good question. The ABX girl says, hi from a Zoom meeting. ABX girl, hopefully your Zoom meeting is going well. Hey, Chris Worldwide Adventures says, what's up, Tom, from Jacksonville, Florida. Very cool. Murky says, Wednesday, best day of the week to fly. Is it true? Never knew that. RJ says, Olaf from Colorado. Tom, hope you're well. What's going on, everybody? JK says, good evening, Tom, and good evening, sunshine after rain. Devin says, how's it going? Going really well. It's going good. Joey says, that's incredible, $49. Yeah, so if you fly from JFK, John F. Kennedy, to Miami International Airport, just as long as you book like 2 or 3 weeks out, you could always get an affordable flight, maybe like $55. I always pay around that on Kayak. So for anybody that's just joining, we just did a quick overview of ZoomInfo, ticker symbol ZI. I'll run down some of the numbers again in a bit. But if you want to see just a quick rundown, we did it at the beginning of the stream. Another beat and raise quarter. But JK, good to see you. Joey says medical marijuana is such a tremendous opportunity. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. If you want to learn more about medical marijuana, definitely just, type in the chat, ask Mark Davis any of your questions, and I'm sure he'd be happy to sort of talk it over. Amazing Day says, hi, Tom. What are some of the top IT security products in the market? Are you talking about in terms of companies? I would probably say in terms of cloud security, probably Zscaler and CrowdStrike are probably the top 2 in terms of cloud security, so Zscaler and CrowdStrike. Speaking of them, there's a very good article this week in Investors Business Daily where they sit down with the CEO of CrowdStrike. And the former CEO, or currently the current CEO of CrowdStrike and the owner and the operator, the founder of CrowdStrike, actually started off his career at McAfee, which is a cybersecurity company. And essentially I think he was a VP or a big director very high up in McAfee. And he was telling them that, hey, you know, we need to start making cloud products or cybersecurity cloud products at McAfee. And they pretty much told him to pound sand and kick rocks. So he left and started a company called CrowdStrike, where it specializes in cloud security. And now they do well over $250 million in revenue a quarter. So there you have it. Very cool. This mural is very beautiful here. Alfred says, Tom, what do you think about the semiconductor stock ASML? I think it's pretty good. Joey says, I got into right before the acquisition. Very cool. Hey, Kevin Sunderland says, use 1-to-1 CBD, thanks. CBC, thanks. Hey, Michelle McGraw is here, says, hey, Tom. What's up, Michelle? Hope you're well. Happy Monday, Michelle McGraw. Hope you had a good Halloween. Upstreet 412 says, what's up from Pittsburgh? Let's end the Fed and buy Bitcoin. I'm with that, man. End the Federal Reserve. We do not like the Federal Reserve on this channel. Murky says, Wall Street Scaperoad, did you buy your house with an LLC? I did not. And I do have reasons for that, which we will talk about. Maria says, thanks, Cosmo. Good night. Devin says, you ever walk through Brooklyn? Sometimes. Photos from around New York says, I've always been a bit worried making purchases on Kayak. Is it legit? Yeah, I make purchases on Kayak all the time. All the time. Headless Horseman, so every back to normal. It's the majority of it's back to normal. Jamie says, do you think it's a wise idea to invest in electric car companies? As long as the electric car company is producing earnings and sales growth, then I think it should be a pretty decent investment. I mean, I think everybody should base their investments off of the earnings of the company, because, you know, over time, the stock price of any security that you're looking at will follow its earnings trajectory over time. Kevin Sunderland says, watched Winklevoss interview, and now I'm perma-long crypto. So the Winklevoss twins actually own Gemini, the exchange Gemini. Should I keep investing in cryptocurrencies? Says Lazo, yeah. I mean, I can't advise you on what to do. But me personally, I do have investments in both Bitcoin and Ethereum. Shadow King says, hey everybody, what's up, Shadow King? Good to see you again. L, what's up, L? Amazing Day says, ASML has a very large facility near us in Wilton, Connecticut. Indeed they do. Nicholas says, what's your thoughts on the New York City war on garbage? So I think everybody's talking about the, whatchamacallit. Like if you walk into a coffee shop, you're not allowed to get a straw unless you ask on special request. Something like that. So I think the semiconductor stocks, you're always going to have demand for semiconductors now, because if you think about all of the new up-and-coming innovations that are going to sweep this century, you think about 5G, you think about artificial intelligence, machine learning, this all requires semiconductors and chips. You know, you just look at electric vehicles. You know, in a Tesla car, you could have over 1,400 chips in one electric vehicle. So definitely you should have some exposure to semiconductors, but NVIDIA is probably the most liquid leader in that space. Kevin says, stop the war on garbage, says no one ever. Looker says, I am 13 and YouTube still bans me. They are breaking their own rules. Fred T says, sanitation is not picking up the trash. I think that's in some areas. I think there's a sanitation strike in New York City because of the vaccination mandates. Hello, what is going on? Kevin Sunderland says, liked to buying a piece of internet in 1999. Diego says, have you passed by NYU? Yes, so we started the stream at NYU's Stern School of Business. Me says, today was my first no trade day since May. Tomorrow may also be a no momentum stock day and another no trade day. Wednesday, in my opinion, I see blood on the market when Fed turns negative. Go VIX, says me. Very interesting take, me, and I hope you're having a good Monday. We were just talking about ZoomInfo's earnings, ticker symbol ZI. Ticker symbol ZI. They reported earnings after the bell. Another beat and raise quarter. So this is the fourth quarter in a row where ZoomInfo reported better than expected earnings. The ABX girl says wildlife is returning to New York City. Water and air cleanest sanitation slowdown. So we'll do a quick review of ZoomInfo's earnings for everybody who just joined the chat. So if you want to do ticker symbol or exclamation point ZI in the chat, I programmed Nightbot to drop a link to ZoomInfo's earnings report. So you can give it a read through, you can understand what's going on, just to get an idea. Because what I like to sort of drive home on this channel is important to, when looking at a specific company to invest in, the most important thing to really, I guess, drive home and pay attention to is the earnings of the business, right? So over time, the stock price will always follow the trajectory of the earnings of the company. So earnings matter. Earnings is extremely, extremely important. So what I like to look for are companies that are growing at a compounded annualized growth rate in terms of their EPS about 25% plus year over year. So ZoomInfo, we had a beat, a penny beat, so a beat by a penny, came in EPS at 13 cents. Analysts projected that ZoomInfo would come in at about 12 cents. So we had a bit of a surprise there, an earnings surprise of 8.33%. Revenues came in better than expected at 197.6 million, beating analyst estimates by 7.80%, also up 60% year over year. That's explosive growth. I usually like to look for companies that are growing their revenues at least 25% quarter over quarter. So that means from this same quarter last year, ZoomInfo has seen an increase of 60% in their revenues. So that makes it, over the last 4 quarters, ZoomInfo has surpassed analyst expectations on both an EPS standpoint and revenue standpoint for 4 times in a row. So 4 beat and raise quarters. Absolutely phenomenal. Hey, I see Troy1995 in here says, why did you choose a Mac instead of a PC? I've always had Mac, and that's where I store the majority of my stuff, in the cloud, but that's a good question. Andre says, will you be in Times Square tonight? We will not. Hey, Jimmy Anderson is here. What's up, Jimmy? Good to see you. Yeah, so everybody, if you have to do exclamation point ZI, sorry about that. Fred says, when will Tesla hit 2,000? Not sure, Fred, but good to have you here. Jimmy Anderson says, hey dude, Beer and Bets is doing a live stream right now. So send some viewers if you can. We are not live, but we are in the chat. Hey, check out Beer and Bets podcast, everybody. Check it out. Dennis says, what do you think about P-Jet? I'm down big on it. Hope it recovers. I've never heard of it, Dennis. I've never heard of that company, unfortunately. Cosmo says, did it surpass your personal expectations? It did not. I actually was expecting a bigger beat on the EPS side. I was actually expecting a bigger beat on the EPS side, Cosmo. So this is the stuff that matters, that I think that everybody really needs to pay attention to. So if we look at adjusted operating margin, ZoomInfo comes at 39%. Unlevered free cash flow, plus 23% year over year. So for those of you who don't know what essentially unlevered free cash flow is, it's essentially just net of interest payments, right? So pretty simple. Unlevered free cash flow margin comes in at about 37%. ZoomInfo now has 25,000 paying customers. And this is the most important metric that I look for at these SaaS companies, are customers that are paying over $100,000. So ZoomInfo now has 1,250 customers that are billing over $100,000. And that means that they're really breaking into the enterprise space. So you think about the Fortune 500 and the Fortune 50 companies. These are the companies that can afford to pay these big high ticket items. So that's a very, very positive sign. That means large companies are adopting this software and it's actually working. So that's phenomenal. And last but not least, ZoomInfo not only beat analyst expectations this quarter, but they actually guided higher next quarter. We talk a lot about this on the channel. Is we want to make sure, sometimes in the earnings report, what will really move the stock one way or another is forward guidance, projections. So a lot of the time, the CFO or the CEO will come on at the end of the conference call and say, even though we did very good this quarter, we want to revise or adjust higher our revenue estimates as well as our earnings estimates for the entire fiscal year. That really shows confidence within the company of the management team, and it shows confidence that they're going to close larger deals, increasing their revenues, and hopefully that revenue will hit the bottom line, causing more earnings. Amir says this channel is the new Bloomberg. What's up, Amir? Happy Monday. Hope you had a good Halloween, everybody. Mark Davis says, I will, Jimmy, subscribe to your channel, followed your NFL picks. Yeah, so everybody, if you're interested in sports like football or anything like that, or betting or sports gambling, Jimmy is the guy to turn to. Ricky says, hello, my name is Ricardo. I'm from Brazil. I live in the city of Sao Paulo. Very cool. Phenomenal. Troy 1995 says, we need Bloomberg as a service. They do have that. They do have that. It is Bloomberg. Marilyn says, join me in hitting the like button. Thank you, Marilyn. Appreciate it. Cosmo, how are you? Tom says, go to Bushwick. So I used to live in Greenpoint. Bushwick is a very nice neighborhood, Tom. I used to live in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Lou says, hello from Puerto Rico. Hey, what's up from Puerto Rico? Hey, and we also have people from Korea in the house. Annyeonghaseyo. Irimi moyo. Ice says, have you been to Canada before? I have been to Canada one time, and I'm looking forward to going back very, very soon. Brian says, hello, Wall Street Skate Bro, and hi, everybody else. Brian, what's going on? Hope you're well. I'd like to go back to Canada. Starving Artist is here, speaking of Canadians. Says, hi, Tom. Hope your evening is going well. Appreciate it. Troy 1995 says, Stripe is good. Stripe is good. Stripe is very good. We are in Manhattan. Troy 1995 says, did you get the booster? I did not. What about you, Troy? Hello from the amazing place of the big, huge from Chile. Very cool. Love Chile in the chat. We have a lot of people from Chile. Ah, very cool. Me says, has the Hard Rock casino in Florida inflate their online gambling business? Does anyone have the link? I have no idea. I don't really do much online gambling, or if any, I don't gamble at all. Hey, Action Kid is in the chat. What's up, Action Kid? Just hope you had a great Halloween weekend, Tom. Right back at you, Action Kid. Thank you so much. I had a wonderful weekend. I saw you were in Boston, so I hope you had a great time in Boston. My brother actually lives up there now. So Action Kid, we just did a complete review of ZoomInfo's earnings report. So ZoomInfo is a company that I actually have used personally. It's a phenomenal product for sales and marketing organizations to drive sales for prospecting, closing new business. Even though it does trade at a pretty frothy valuation, I think it's almost 27 times sales. These companies tend to trade at premium valuations for a reason. So over the last 4 quarters, so over the last 4 earnings reports, ZoomInfo has beat analysts' expectations on an EPS basis, on a revenues basis, and also have guided higher each and every one of those quarters. So that's 4 beat and raise quarters so far. The stock really didn't have too much movement after hours, up 3%. I'm long common stock with a very, very low cost basis. So if you want to check it out, if you do !ZI, it'll drop the earnings report of ZoomInfo in the chat. Jamie says, I'm up on 3 of my 4 crypto investments. 4th closed break even. Very cool, Jamie. Action Kid says, I'm back from Boston now. It was fun. I got to get to Boston. I really got to get to Boston. From Korea. Hey, that's awesome. Very cool. Welcome everybody from Korea. 저는 한국 사람이에요. 저는 New York 사람이에요. Craig says, hi, Skater from Cali. What's up, Skater? Jack says, you should stream with Stop Speed. He is in New York City now. This is Jack D. Very cool. I will be flying back to Miami, Florida tomorrow. Hey, Robbie says, hello, everybody. Joey says, amazing. What's up, Robbie and Joey? Lou says, wow, the streets are calm comparing to last night. Yeah, last night was insane. Fallen Star says, I was watching Disney World. Somehow I ended up here. Well, I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the party. Welcome to Wall Street. Actually, not really. We're not on Wall Street. Hey, Craig Foster, how are you? Jack D, good to see you here. MB, good to see you. Headless Horseman says the best headphone to use for BMX. Fresh Start says hi, everyone. Fresh Start, always good to see you in the chat. Hope you had a good Monday so far. Fresh Start. Starving Artist, how are you? So you know what? Once Halloween is over, it looks like everybody started putting up the Christmas stuff in the windows. Ice is how old are you? I'm 26. I just turned 26 years old, everybody. So there we go. And it looks like Christmas stuff already is over. You know, 2 seconds after whatchamacallit, Halloween, we have the Christmas stuff already up. What can you do, guys? Me says, Tom, when you state you're holding a position, are you referring to your own personal cash account or are you managing clients' accounts? No, I'm talking about my own personal brokerage accounts. I do not manage money for clients. I do not. I do consult with some hedge funds, but I do not actively manage institutional money. At least not yet. In the works. Craig says, well, happy birthday. Thank you. Well, I shouldn't say just turned. My birthday was in May. I don't know what I'm talking about. But thank you. Appreciate that. Hey, Jonathan Richards is here. Says hi, Tom. What's up, Jonathan? Good to see you. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving, Jonathan. Santa Monica Rodriguez is so happy to be here. The one and only Santa Monica. Hope you're well. So check out this. I always pass this loft here. It looks beautiful up there. Headless Horseman says Black Friday is going to be wild. Roz999 says hello from Buffalo, New York. A late night working at Citi. Well, it is earnings season, so I hope you're not working too hard, my friend. Hey, Charles Garcia says hi, Tom. What's up, Charles Garcia? I'm happy you're here. Good to see you. And we are right next to a Tesla. Very nice Tesla. Big fan of Teslas. Nicholas says, Tom, what is your opinion on ZoomInfo schedule of available assets? Do you think they're potentially hiding any real estate assets or potentially any future foreseeable big assets that can be expected? I don't think so. One of the biggest concerns that everybody has about ZoomInfo is that they continue to have secondary offerings, which I guess is a little bit concerning because it signals insider selling. However, we have to understand that when an IPO goes through its process, essentially the common terms about what an IPO is, it's the transfer of ownership from the private markets to the public markets. So there was a lot of VC money that was invested into ZoomInfo well before it was even public. So they tend to sell off a lot of their shares. And I think the Carlyle Group has the largest holdings in ZoomInfo. I believe it is the Carlyle Group. I'll have to go back on Bloomberg and look, but I believe it is. It was sort of the same thing that happened with Ping Identity and Vista Equity Partners, if anybody's familiar with that. Hey, Kevin Sunderland, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Thanks for all the very informative and entertaining streams. Thank you so much, Kevin. Appreciate it. Have I heard of Rockstar Games? I have not. Amir says, what happened that Tesla tunnel system project in Vegas, I think? So are you talking about the Boring Company? I believe Tesla owns the Boring Company and they were going to do something like that. But I believe it was in Miami. I think they had plans to do something, but I'm not sure how that would work because Miami's pretty much built on sand. Fresh Start says, can you show me the One World Trade Center Freedom Tower? We are walking the other way of the Freedom Tower. So I'm not sure we're going to be able to see it tonight because we're walking uptown, but maybe another night on the stream, Fresh Start. Maybe another night. Hey, the Swan is here. Says, hi, Tom. Hi, all. Didn't think you were on tonight. The Swan is from Ireland. Welcome from Ireland. Jack D says, you should go down to Wall Street and stream by George Washington statue. He got sworn in as president on Wall Street. Yeah, so that is Federal Hall. So Jack D, we've been to Federal Hall many times before on the stream. And it's a phenomenal place. But the thing that's terrible about Federal Hall is that there's going to be scaffolding up on Federal Hall for 10 years. 10 years. So we actually did do a stream, I think, last month down by Federal Hall. And it is unfortunate that there will be scaffolding all up on Federal Hall for the next 10 years. So bummer, but we'll see. Asia Unscripted says, did you make your train last night? I did make my train last night. Ice says, have you been to Philadelphia before? I have not, but I will get there very soon. Glitch says, what's up? What's up, Glitch? Edson says, hey guys, what's going on? Not too much. We're walking back to the train, and we're talking about ZoomInfo, ticker symbol ZI, reported earnings after the bell today. MB says, the Tesla Hyperloop is up and running here in Vegas. Very cool, MB. I'm actually going to be in Vegas a little later this year, a little later. The Austin Tenants says, I got a call back from Cloudflare. I'm pretty pumped about that. Oh my God, the Austin Tenants, congratulations, my friend. Cloudflare is a phenomenal company. Phenomenal company. What position? Is it for an account executive or BDR? I think you're gonna love it there, man. I really, really hope you get it. I know you're going after Okta as well, so I wish you the best. I think you're gonna get it too. You're a sharp kid, very smart guy. This BDR, perfect. So BDR stands for Business Development Representative. If you get it there at Cloudflare, you pretty much have a shoe-in anywhere at a big tech company. So I think you're gonna get it, and I'm very, very happy for you. Jimmy Anderson says, Tom is the man, and thanks for everything, dude. No problem, Jimmy, you're the man. Right back at you. So we are overlooking the Empire State Building. Looks gorgeous tonight in the classic white. It was very interesting colors last night for Halloween. Everybody, we have to stop everything. We have the one and only Lady Orleans in the chat from New Jersey. Lady O, happy Halloween. Hope you had a great weekend. Always good to see you, Lady O. Joel NC says, hey Tom, when and how did you get interested in finance? I think I've just always been interested in how businesses operate. I think it was pretty young, maybe not pretty young, maybe like junior year in high school, probably junior year in high school. I really got obsessed with how businesses operate. I'll show you guys the Empire State Building one more time. Luke says, bought 10 shares of Atlassian today, starting to DCA. Yeah, so Atlassian reported a phenomenal quarter. I think it popped about 8%, but I think we're going to see a little bit of a correction in Atlassian. I wouldn't be surprised to see the price fall further, because we are quite extended over the 50-day. But my cost basis on Atlassian is so low. I think the last time I sold Atlassian was last month. I sold them to put a down payment on my house. Alexandria says, hi, how are you tonight? Are your meetings going well? The meetings are going well, but we are actually going to be flying back to New York City, to Miami tomorrow. Do you ever buy options? Says Jack D. Very rarely. Very, very rarely I will ever buy options. The only time I will dabble in the derivatives market is if I'm actually selling options as a way to hedge on an earnings report, but I haven't done that in a very, very long time. So this is the Empire State Building. Right here is the Chrysler Building. Looking good. Pretty good night. Jack D says, you should be a stockbroker. I'm not interested in that. I really want to stay working in tech. I think there's more exponential growth trends in tech. Let's just say that. Joel NC says, do you have a home in Florida too? Yes. So in Miami. Ice says, you're very educated for a 26-year-old. Well, thank you, Ice. I would say the same thing about you. Jonathan Richards says, scaffolding at Federal Hall for 10 years makes me sad. Oh, it's horrible. It's horrendous. So Federal Hall is one of the most beautiful, gorgeous buildings in Manhattan. It's so phenomenal. You guys have to check it out. Hey, Prem says, hello from India. What's up? What's up, Prem? From India. Jack D says, stockbroker pays very well. Very cool. Lady O says, did you get a picture in front of the Federal Building? Lady O, I did not. Very tragic, very sad, I did not. But hopefully, hopefully it's not, the scaffolding is not all the way up yet. The Austin Tenants says, have you found tenants for the home in Miami yet? Not yet. I do have to do a little bit of work. There's a bit of a liability in the backyard that I do need to clean up. But I'm in no rush. Probably Probably in 2022, I'm gonna get Tenants in there. I'm in no rush to do it just yet. I figure November, December, why make myself go crazy over the holidays? But I will have people in there, have tenants in there, probably early January, I would say, Austin tennis. Sally says, beautiful. What's up, Sally? Lou says, yes, love how you explain this. No problem. Glitch says, Florida. I love Florida. The Fresh Start says, can you walk in front of the Empire State Building? We definitely will. Troy 1995 says, financial industry is going tech anyways. I would agree. David Carter says, watching Peaky Blinders. Jetstar says, think you will stream tomorrow night? Maybe. So I'm going to get back. I think my flight lands in Miami at about 10 a.m. However, I'm going to have a lot of catching up to do in terms of clients and stuff like that. So I scheduled all my conference calls later in the day at about like 4 o'clock. So to be determined. If we're streaming tomorrow, we'll definitely be streaming from Sunny Isles Beach, Florida. One of the most beautiful places in southern Florida. Breezy681 says, thoughts on Lucid becoming number 2. Are you talking about Lucid Motors? Ice the same, Joel. I assumed mid-30s. Austin Tennis says, did we have dinner at Becco tonight? That was last night. So I made a power move and went to Becco, one of the greatest Italian places in the city. I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. Glitch says, you are the only YouTuber that reads my chats, says Glitch. Well, Glitch, I appreciate you being here, my friend. The Swan, good to see you. Jimmy Anderson says, yo, Tom, tell these guys to hook us up with some live viewers on the Beer and Bets podcast. Definitely check it out. Definitely check it out, guys. L the Original, what's going on, L? Hey, L the Original's here, guys. Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a long time. Hope you're well, L. L the Original is doing some very, very busy. I think last time I heard, L was doing nursing schools. That's phenomenal. Thank you for all you do, L the Original. The Mighty Bull is here, says Mighty Bull's in the house. What's up, Mighty Bull? Good to see you. Dalton says hello, how is everybody? I'm doing very well. Troy 1995 says, I'll be your tenant. Joel NC says, I thought you were older than you are because of your maturity and intelligence. Compliment. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really, really do appreciate that. Why did you start streaming? I'm curious. I was going insane during the pandemic. And I think this is a good way for me to retain knowledge. So I read a lot of financial earnings, and I build a lot of models. But I think talking about it and talking about it to other people helps you reinforce that the knowledge, I guess you could say. So if we're talking about an earnings report, when you talk about it with other people, maybe they have something else to say, and then you can go back and forth. And I think it creates a pretty cool experience. Glitch says, can you please submit to my channel, please, and thank you much. L the Original says, I work Tuesdays to Saturday, 2:15 to 10 p.m., Mondays and Sundays off, so I mostly sleep all day. I'm so exhausted. Well, I'll hang in there. You gotta hang in there. But that is phenomenal. So, L, do you think you're gonna do the, I think you were talking about, what is it called? The visiting nurse. I think you said you wanted to be a visiting nurse or something else like that. Fresh Start says, Tom, what's the best pizza place in Miami? I've yet to find a good pizza place in Miami, honestly. I've yet to find one. Hey, Kevin Sunderland says, this stream is also wonderful in that people disagree respectfully. Very refreshing. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That is the environment we try to create here. So it doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican. You're welcome here, my friends. Joel NC says, did you go to college for finance? I find it fascinating. No, very weird. I actually went to college for criminal justice. So I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice. I was going to be a police officer. I was going to be in the NYPD. So funny how things change. But I did minor in economics, and I took some forensic accounting classes. So all will work out. Glitch says, you're my favorite streamer. Thank you, Glitch. I appreciate the kind words. L the Original says, yes, traveling nursing. It's more convenient and time flexible, but my schedule is changing in 2 weeks, so hopefully I can get an earlier shift. Well, let's hope and pray for that. Up Street 214 says, ever watch Max Kaiser's YouTube channel? His feuds with Peter Schiff is hilarious. Love Max Kaiser. He is great. The Orange Pill podcast, if anybody is interested, that is one of my favorite podcasts. It's called the Orange Pill podcast. Phenomenal. Orange Pill podcast, Max Kaiser. Peter Schiff is also one of my favorite economists. However, he has been wrong pretty much for 10 years on Bitcoin. But in terms of an overall economic thesis and understanding of true Austrian economics, Peter Schiff is your guy. So if you look up Peter Schiff, I think I first discovered him at Zuccotti Park back when they were doing the Occupy Wall Street protests, if anybody remembers that. Does anybody remember the Occupy Wall Street protests at Zuccotti Park? Does anybody in the chat? I think we have some New Yorkers in the chat. So Peter Schiff actually went down to Zuccotti Park and did a mini documentary series called I Am the 1%, Let's Talk. And essentially his thesis was that everybody at Occupy Wall Street is upset at the investment banks for crashing the world economy, which is correct. However, people should have been directing their anger at the Federal Reserve, because the Federal Reserve is the entity that caused the great financial crisis of 2008 by keeping interest rates artificially suppressed. Because if you think about it, the Federal Reserve is essentially the one who is doling out all of the alcohol, so to speak, on Wall Street. So all of these bankers got way too greedy, in which case they were writing subprime mortgages with adjustable rates, or they were called teaser rates. So in 2008, a lot of bankers were acting unethically on Wall Street and writing these loans that were no good. A lot of the times they were not checking any income verification, they weren't checking anybody's credit reports, and they were approving people that should not have been qualifying for a loan, and they were just giving them mortgages with teaser rates, which is essentially a very low interest rate at first. However, when interest rates do start to move up, your payment also increases and gets bigger. So in turn, people were planning on paying, let's say, $1,900 a month for their mortgage, but when interest rates go up, they have a balloon payment, which essentially makes them default on their loans at the same time, forcing them into foreclosure. So really, really terrible stuff. Hey, we have Hermes Addict here. Says, I lived on Wall Street during the Occupy Wall Street. It was very tough to go in and out of your house. I could imagine, Hermes Addict. Well, I hope you love Miami. I'll be down there very soon. The ABX girl says, I remember my finance gear and I stopped wearing it, and rich women stopped showing their fancy, expensive bags. This is the ABX girl. Yeah, it was very, very crazy time. Extremely crazy time. Checkers X is variable rate. What is up, Checkers X? Good to see you. Glitch says, good night, Tom, and have a good night. Thank you, Glitch. You as well. Chuck says, don't they hold Christmas parades here? I think so. I'm not sure. I think the Halloween parade was very close around here. Starvin' Artist says, destruction is no snow yet. Fresh Start says, Tommy, you headed towards West 34th Street. We are. Jack D says, ninja loans. Elle says, as with any great event, there were many things at play, not just one. I agree. Glitch says, hey, do you mind shouting out my channel? Everybody check out Glitch. Jack D says, they rigged the LIBOR and got away with it as they do with the subprime scam. Indeed. JP Morgan's also doing that with the precious metals market. So a lot of traders at BNP Paribas, which a lot of people, well, I think a lot of people do know BNP Paribas. They're a French investment bank. And a lot of their traders are caught rigging precious metals market by dumping paper derivative on the open market. So for example, if you type in ticker symbol SLV, it's actually not the physical price of the underlying commodity. It's what you call, the terminology on Wall Street, they call it the paper. So they flood the open market with paper, the paper derivative, silver, keeping those assets suppressed. So I think what we're seeing in this market, the Federal Reserve has created inverse asset bubbles as well. So Jerome Powell, as we know, he's keeping interest rates artificially low to stimulate the economy, but that really only benefits the 1%. In addition to that, the Federal Reserve is buying about $140 billion at minimum of US Treasuries and mortgage-backed securities. So that not only keeps the equities markets propped up, but it also inflates a big housing bubble. But what that does in turn is creates inverse bubbles, which I think we're seeing in the precious metals market. The Mighty Bull is listening, reading, and learning. The Mighty Bull, good to see you. Wow, we've already been streaming an hour. Crazy. Jetstar says, has it gotten more difficult to travel with American and Southwest canceling flights? So I heard about that, but I have not gotten affected by that. Thank God. Jonathan Richards says, did you make your train last night, Tom? I was worried about you. Yes, I did make the train, thank God. Appreciate the concern. Mate ODC8 says, hello, I love Microsoft earnings last week. I love it too. They had exceptional growth on their Azure cloud platform. Ice says, how long do you usually stream for? We usually stream for about 3 hours, 5 days a week. However, tonight we are going to have to cut it short because I do need to get home. Neil says, hi everybody. What's up, Neil? Slope Channel says, you sure know how to dodge around those street, great photography also. Thank you so much, appreciate it. Santa Monica Rodriguez says, thank you for these streams. You are so knowledgeable and humble in my opinion. What book would you suggest for a beginner who is looking to begin investing? I would say there's 3 books that I think are particularly very good. I think number 1, I would start off. If you have absolutely no idea where to start, I would start off with the book called The Little Book of Common Sense Investing by Jack Bogle. Essentially, Jack Bogle was the former founder and CEO of the Vanguard Group, and he pretty much pioneered what's called indexing on Wall Street. So back in the day, and you still have egregious mutual fund fees now. So a mutual fund way back in the day, they would charge something that's called a load fee, or a front load and a back end load fee, and sometimes these things could be 5%. And even if the fund managers lost money that year, the clients would still have to pay all of these egregious fees. So what Jack Bogle essentially did is he said, well, what if we can create a product where the majority of retail investors can either dollar cost average or just buy this product over time with an extremely low expense ratio. So if you just buy an index fund that tracks either the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ 100 or whatever it is, that usually tends to outperform 90% of actively managed funds at a fraction of the cost. I think a Vanguard index fund that tracks the S&P 500 has an expense ratio of about half of a percent. So extremely low management fees. So the book is called Common Sense Investing by Jack Bogle. The second book I would read is One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch. And Peter Lynch is the former mutual fund manager at Fidelity's Magellan Fund. And the Magellan Fund was one of the most successful mutual funds of all time. So Peter Lynch, check him out. He's very good at fundamental analysis, securities analysis. Peter Lynch, former fund manager at Fidelity Magellan. And then last but not least, I would read Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits by Phil Fisher. Phil Fisher. Let me check the comments, everybody. I know I've been rambling on for quite some time, but we are very close to our destination. We may have to end the stream early. I felt like we just started. Ladios' Magellan Fund. Rick says they are canceling a lot of flights. Yeah, so thankfully, Rick, I have not gotten impacted by the flight cancellations. Where is home? Long Island, New York. Karina Thompson is here. What's up, Karina? How are you? Good to see you, Karina Thompson. Lucas says, Tom, what can I do that's fun in New York City? I have money in my pockets, but I'm bored. Do you have any ideas? If you like Korean food, you got to come here. This is Koreatown. So right here on West 32nd Street, a ton of fun things to do, ton of great restaurants, big party town here. Koreatown. So I would come to 32nd Street and Broadway and have a great time. Christian says, what's up, Tom? What is up? What's going on, Christian? Islanders fan. I'm not a big fan of hockey, but if I had to choose, I would choose the Rangers. Ticker time is here. Jack D says, Carl Icahn has some great quotes, but he is a crook of Wall Street, indeed. So one of the funny things about Carl Icahn that I really, really enjoyed watching his battles with a former hedge fund manager called Bill Ackman. And Bill Ackman is the fund manager of Pershing Square Capital when Bill Ackman made that huge short thesis on the fraudulent health company Herbalife. That was quite a spectacle on Wall Street. Good times. Brooklyn Girl says hi, Tom. What's up, Brooklyn Girl? Good to see you. Always good to see you, Brooklyn Girl. Murky says, Tom, when you buy your next house, will you use an LLC? I will not, and I do have reasons for that because my company is an S corporation. Aramis Addict says, Rangers, good choice. But Murky, I think that's a good question. Me says, please explain how Tesla goes from 780 to 1200 in 30 days. Its PE is approached. It doesn't matter. The answer to your question, Me, is it doesn't matter. The market doesn't care about what you think. I'm not saying that in a negative way. The market doesn't care about what I think either. So if we follow some of the greatest investors of all time, like Stanley Druckenmiller, Paul Tudor Jones, at the end of the day, the market is telling you who's right. It doesn't matter if you think Tesla should go to zero. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. I think on Wall Street, the main point is about making money. It's not about being right. As you know, I'm very long Atlassian since IPO. If Atlassian starts to go down and breaks through its 50-day moving average on higher than average volume, it doesn't care if I think the stock is great. It doesn't care if I think it's a profitable business. The market is always right. So the market will always determine fair value, and the market doesn't care what you think the fair value should be. And that goes for me too, right? That goes for me too. So always follow the trend first. Is the PE ratio on Tesla ridiculous? Yes, it is. Is it from a regular value investor's standpoint absolutely ridiculous and egregious that Tesla should be here? Absolutely. Do I think Tesla will probably go to a $1.5 trillion market cap? Probably. In terms of a valuation sense, should it be there? No. But the market doesn't care about your feelings or my feelings. At the end of the day, the market is always right. Could Tesla turn around and crash and crater tomorrow? Yes. But the point is, I'm not right. I don't know anything. The market always dictates what is right, and the market will always tell you what's right. Joel NC says, I love his passion, though. I don't understand what he's saying. Why don't you sometimes randomly stop walking and start again a few minutes later during the live streams? Because I try to read everybody's comments. Jetstar says, Carl Icahn brought down Eastern Airlines. Lady O says, are you hopping on the subway? I am not. I'm going to hop on the Long Island Railroad. Chris Worldwide Adventures says, ever thought about visiting Jacksonville, Florida? Growing city in Florida, lots of corporations moving here. I have thought about that. Ticker Time says he probably gets tired, wouldn't... Indeed. Hey, Prince Charming says, hi, Tom. What's up, Prince Charming? David says, evening, Tom. Do you think someday you'll write a book on investing in finance? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I don't think I'm qualified to do that, in all honesty. Let's see. Fan 500 says, hi, best place is books to learn about stocks, etc. for someone who knows nothing. I would say Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits by Phil Fisher. Phil Fisher was the founder of Fisher Investments, and now his family runs Fisher Investments. Then I would read Jack Bogle's The Little Book of Common Sense Investing. And if you're interested in growth stock investing, I would read How to Make Money in Stocks by William J. O'Neill. And William J. O'Neill is actually the founder and the owner, or the former owner, of Investors Business Daily. Investors Business Daily was actually just acquired by News Corporation. And News Corp is the company that owns the Wall Street Journal. They own Barron's. They also own Fox News. And they just acquired Investors Business Daily for $250 million. So William J. O'Neill is a very famous size position trader on Wall Street. The founder of Investors Business Daily. And I think I have a copy of it on me right now. Let's see. I'll have to find it. Yeah, right here. This is Investors Business Daily. So William J. O'Neill created this newspaper. I read it every single week. And it's mainly highlights the fastest growing companies in America. So it's not really for value investors. So if we think about the most famous value investors of all time, we think about Warren Buffett, we think about Seth Klarman. So Seth Klarman, speaking about Seth Klarman, at one of Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway conferences, somebody stood up and asked a very interesting question. They said, hey, Warren Buffett, besides you, who would you recommend to listen to when it comes to investing? And Warren Buffett thought about it for a little bit. He took a sip of his Coca-Cola and he said, you know what? I wouldn't say anybody, but if I had to say somebody, I would say, Phil Fisher and maybe Seth Klarman. Yeah, maybe Seth Klarman. So Seth Klarman actually wrote a book, which I think is one of the greatest value investing books ever written. There's only 2,000 copies ever published. In which case, if you want to buy an actual physical real copy of Margin of Safety, it's going to cost you about $3,000. But you can probably get a pirated version, a PDF, for free online. But the book is called Margin of Safety by Seth Klarman. And he is one of the most successful value investors of all time. So pretty interesting story there, but Warren Buffett will only recommend you listen to Phil Fisher and Seth Klarman. Hey, Oscar says Kobe Bryant's company Body Armor sold for $8 billion to Coca-Cola. Wow. That's crazy. That's very cool. So we usually start to buffer right around here. We're actually passing a GameStop. Very interesting. The Austin Tenants says, what time is our train tonight? I think we just missed the train, but no big deal. We'll get the next one. Manny Test, what's going on? Ice says, what's your favorite season? My favorite season is summer. I like it hot. I enjoy the hot weather. But we're here on 33rd Street in Broadway, or 6th Avenue, headed uptown. And I'll stop and read the comments. We're going to avoid that. So if we look straight ahead, this is the Bank of America Tower. And I believe our pal EBITDA works right here at BAML. Wolf of Wall Street says summer in New York is swampy, especially the trains. I second that. Me says, following all historical and mathematical theories, trends, and logic, Tesla should not be trading around 105. Should be trading around 105, not 1,205. There is no way I can be so wrong and meme traders so wealthy from Tesla trades. Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, are you right, me? Yeah, you're right, but the market is telling you you're wrong. So, when I first started investing, I thought the same way. I'm like, there's no way this stock should be here. The stock should be trading at 200. This is BS. And you just spin your wheels for no reason. On a fundamental basis, I actually agree with you, but it doesn't matter what I agree with, right? At the end of the day, if the market is telling you the stock is here, then it's there, right? But that's just the way I look at it. I don't try to pick tops and bottoms. I tend to be a trend follower. Now, I don't have a position in Tesla. I own Tesla through an index fund, through the S&P 500 that I've been dollar cost averaging into since I was like 15 years old. But that's the only exposure to Tesla I have, so it's irrelevant. But that's sort of the way I think about it. There's always going to be mispricing in the market. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do? Just keep shorting and keep shorting Tesla and just continue to lose your money? Or when you see a clear break in trend, that's when you can get in and maybe put a short position on. But that's sort of the way I think about it. But me, I understand. But at the end of the day, there's no reason to get upset about a stock that's going up that you think should be lower. It just doesn't really make sense. Hey, Luke says, me and your theories and logic, what stock should be trading higher? I can't advise on that, Luke. Ricardo says, hello, my name is Ricardo from Brazil. What's going on? G says, Bank of America equals money laundering. Very interesting. Troy 1995 says, literally anything could happen. Absolutely. So one of my good buddies, Jim Ropel, that runs Ropel Capital Management, he runs a very, very small hedge fund in terms of AUM. It's a fund based out of Chicago. They run about $150 million. But in a hedge fund basis, you know, that AUM is actually very, very little. But he only runs money for about 7 clients. And the best piece of advice I've ever gotten, was from him. Hold on one second. Hold on, I'm getting an email, important email. Hold on one second. All right, everybody, give me 2 seconds. All right, sorry about that. I just needed to take care of that. I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, hey, Amir is here. Zach Mann says, what do you think about Brendan O'Connell? Not sure. GG says, Wall Street ruined the planet. In many ways, I agree with you. A lot of the investment banks did. And the Federal Reserve. I think the global central banks are the worst. Hey, Isis, have you ever watched the show Breaking Bad? I have watched the show Breaking Bad. Indeed, I have. Hey, Business Models says, love the knowledge shared in the stream. Thank you for being here, Business Models. Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. So one of the best piece of advice that I've ever got was from my friend Jim Ropel, who runs Ropel Capital Management. And he says, at the end of the day, when it comes to the stock market, he's like, nobody knows anything. He's like, especially you, Tom. He's like, nobody knows anything. So when people and get on, whoa, it sounded like a bomb going off. So at the end of the day, when people get on CNBC and jump up and down and scream and say, hey, the market's going to crash, the market's going to go up this day, that day, nobody knows anything. At the end of the day, the market is always right. So if you look at some of the best traders and investors of all time, like Stanley Druckenmiller, Paul Tudor Jones, they say, number one, what is the Federal Reserve doing, right? What is the Federal Reserve doing? And number two is, overall, you should either be a long-term investor or be a trend follower. Because if you try to time the in and outs of the everyday individual market movement, you're probably going to lose money. And if you think about how the greatest mutual funds on the planet operate, is they like to look for businesses that are in massive TAMs, and a TAM stands for total addressable market, right? TAM stands for total addressable market. So they look for businesses that are growing at a compounded annualized growth rate of at least 25% or more per annum on an EPS basis. And EPS is an acronym that stands for earnings per share. So if you can have a company like, think about like a Google or a Microsoft that are compounding out their earnings, that are earning tons of free cash, these mutual funds are not running $1,000 in a Robinhood account, okay? They're running billions of dollars. So sometimes it takes these mutual funds 6 months to a year just to get a good position size on. So they're not intraday trading in and out of the market. They're sizing into good fundamental companies and holding for 10 quarters, sometimes 20 quarters, to wait for the earnings to roll out. So I thought that was a pretty good piece of advice I got. It's like, look, at the end of the day, nobody knows nothing, especially me. And that's sort of what I stick by. Hey, British Gray is here. What's up, British Gray from Tampa, Florida? I'll be back in Florida tomorrow. Marilyn Ringel says, we will give you 3 seconds. Upstreet 412 says, I like long-term investing in established dividend-paying stocks. Very good. So I don't have to follow the market too closely. Very cool. Very cool. So what are some of the dividend names you're in? You don't have to disclose that if you don't want to. I understand, but just curious. Roz999 says, for a small investor, there are transaction fees to worry about? Not really. I mean, the majority of the commissions on Wall Street are none. What do you think about AMC? I don't really think about AMC, to be too honest. I really don't get involved in the meme stocks. I think that's a little bit of a waste of time. But Blinky, good to have you here. So we're right outside of the Empire State Building. So this is what the Empire State Building looks like from directly under the Empire State Building. Mises stocks like Tesla turned me into a day trader over 10 years ago, and I only follow momentum, and mostly importantly, I don't fight the tape and just go with the flow. I think that's great. I think that's great. But yeah, it is crazy. I mean, who would have thought that Tesla would be a $1 trillion market cap company? I mean, I do see growth for Tesla going into the future, because if you think about who's the furthest ahead in electric vehicles, it's Tesla by far. And I think even if we shift our focus away from electric vehicles, the main bull thesis on Tesla is their battery storage, right? Is their battery storage. So I was reading a very interesting article in Investors Business Daily. I'll probably link it in the description about the precious metals and the rare earths that go into making these batteries. Right now, it's cobalt. But the problem with cobalt is that it's actually not as efficient as nickel. And cobalt is actually, the majority of the metal is mined in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which has absolutely egregious human rights violations. So Elon Musk and all of these CEOs that are heads of these companies, of these electric vehicle companies, are like, look, we need to make a pivot, because essentially, you know, on an ESG standpoint, and ESG is an acronym that stands for environmental and social governance. If you think about, at least, you know, we're saving the planet, we're saving the environment, but look where we're getting our precious metals from. We're getting them from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where they have 13-year-old girls that are essentially cast into slavery to mine these precious metals, which is terrible. So they're trying to make a pivot to more affordable and more prevalent metals such as nickel, and mining them more responsibly, which I think is the right thing to do, in my opinion. Joel NC says it's awesome that Elon Musk is on the spectrum, but that hasn't held him back, says Joel NC. Adrice Trees says, hello everybody. Hey Tom, what's up Adrice, out of your trees? Sabrina Fair says, Elon, what's up? Mariana says, Chrysler building please. I am watching from Costa Rica. We love Costa Rica here. Amir says he started with PayPal. He did start with PayPal. So I think PayPal was actually just in talks to buying, what is that social media company? I forget. But I think the talks fell through. I think it was Pinterest. PayPal was going to buy Pinterest, but it fell through. So this is actually the top of the One Vanderbilt building. Ice says, are you tall or just holding the camera high? It seems like everyone is very short compared to your camera view. I don't think I'm that tall. I'm about 6 foot even, I think. Andrew Lee says, enjoy your time here in New York City. Thank you, Andrew. Fresh start, we will. We'll take a walk to the other side of the empire. Troy 1995 says, all the batteries in Tesla cars and iPhones are from China. I think they're going to start to shift that. I'm going to send you an interesting article I just read about it. Joel, how are you? Lady O, thank you for the time check, Lady O. Troy 1995 says Tesla will for sure be written into business school case study. Absolutely. Santa Monica Rodriguez says, hopefully one day I'll be confident enough to speak on this subject just like you, Tom, and everybody else. Definitely do it. Headless Horseman says, I want to work for Google as a software engineer. I think you should definitely do that. I think that's a phenomenal career. They pay very, very well. And Google actually, I think, just spent about $2 billion to buy a brand new office facility on the west side of Manhattan. So maybe you'll be working right here next to me. Camera Looks says, hi, Wall Street. What's up, Camera Looks? Good to see you. Audia Tree says, they are shifting the manufacturing away from China. Wow, that's nice. I think the majority of it, right? Because the biggest issue now with the supply chain is that it's so convoluted. you have to get the precious metals from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Then you have to ship the precious metals to Taiwan for manufacturing. Then you have to send it to China for provisioning. And then you have to export it all the way back to the United States. So it's an absolute mess. Ice says, do you stream on the weekends? We do stream on the weekends. Photos from around New York says, yup, PayPal stopped looking into Pinterest. Yes, I thought so. I thought it was a weird acquisition target anyway. I mean, M&A activity has been increased like crazy, but I think it's a pretty terrible acquisition target in my opinion. Hey, Peter's here. Wolf of Wall Street is looking good. What is up, Wolf of Wall Street? I'm glad you're here. Andrew Lee says, what's up from Queens? Andrew, how are you? Joel NC says, Edward Jones Investments National. I think so. Sabrina Fair says, I don't understand the financial stuff. Our investments are complex. It's easy to be taken advantage of by financial advisors. I agree with that. So I think you're right. So I think the easiest alternative would be probably just dollar cost averaging into a low cost index fund that tracks the S&P 500. Joel NC says, you would be a great college instructor or professor. I don't think they would ever have me teaching at any college. Wolf of Wall Street says, it's about a time I stopped seeing made in China tags. Oil and gas stocks have paid great dividends for decades. The United States needs to regain energy independence, says Upstreet 421. Fernando R says, Wall Street Scapero, hi. Beautiful views, thanks, no problem. So everybody who's just joining, we did an in-depth coverage of ZoomInfo's earnings. So ZoomInfo is a software company that helps other companies with their sales and marketing. And I actually use ZoomInfo in my everyday life here in New York City as a tech sales executive. Phenomenal product. Maybe I'll read through the earnings results one more time. But the main reason why I wanted to highlight it is because this is the sort of trends I like to look for when making an investment thesis. We want to look for companies that are growing their earnings, growing their pre-tax and after-tax margins, and have phenomenal return on equity. That's what we want to look for. Zap Allen says, Tom, are you headed back to Miami on Tuesday? Yes. I'm headed back very early tomorrow at 7 a.m. on Tuesday. Junior says, hey, bro, good evening. Junior, I'm happy you're here. And I hope you had a great Monday, Junior. Brooklyn Girl says, have a safe flight, Tom. And have a good night. Thank you, Brooklyn Girl. I wish the same to you. Have a good night. Amir says, 412, you're calling for more fracking. So it's funny, an interesting fact on fracking. Right here in New York State, it's what's called the Marcellus Shale. And it is the most plentiful natural gas reserves in the entire world right here. So look it up, Marcellus Shale in upstate New York. And back in the day, there were huge environmental protests upstate New York because they did not want oil and gas companies coming upstate New York and fracking. So check it out. It's called the Marcellus Shale, and it starts in upstate New York, right in Syracuse, New York, which is in upstate New York. Lisa says, in May 2021, the largest iceberg ever broke off Antarctica, the size of Rhode Island. That's terrible. That's really terrible. War Walker says, who the frack is you? Hey, Cheeky Bear, what's going on? Hope you're well. This is the Empire State Building right here on the corner of 34th Street. Very beautiful. Miguel Gonzalez says, hi. How are you, Miguel? Good to see you. Roz99999 says, thanks for broadcasting tonight. Have a good one. Jake says, do you live in New York City? I did live in New York City. Now I live in Long Island. Ice says, what months are stocks usually doing good and what months are bad? So historically, actually, November is a pretty good month for the stock market. Miguel Gonzalez, how are you? Zap Allen says, I read they did much fracking in Oklahoma. They are having earthquakes. Is that true? It's insane. Luke Williams says, Syracuse is actually considered Western New York. I think it's considered Central New York, not Western New York, but maybe you're right. Guess I'm Toast says, can't wait to catch a stellar tan. Very cool. Amir says, batteries will never suffice. So everybody, let's just, bang this out really quick. Ricky says, the Good Belly is a good place to eat in New York City. I don't think I've ever been there. Ariel Mayo says, greetings from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Hey, we have a lot of viewers from Argentina, Buenos Aires, beautiful place. Sally says, it's a really beautiful night. Tom, it is. Thank you, Sally, for being here. I appreciate you. You know what? Let's walk up to the Stephen Schwarzman building. The Stephen Schwarzman building, in other sense, the New York Public Library. I want to check it out before I go back to Miami. And Stephen Schwarzman was actually a massive, massive player on Wall Street, and he made the majority of his money in LBOs, or leveraged buyouts. Have I ever broken a bone? No, thank you God, knock on wood. Gotta find some wood. I guess this will suffice, a tree. Ice says, have you ever, yep. So Doug says, hello from London, Ontario. What's up, Doug Weeks? Happy Monday, Doug. Hope your week is off to a phenomenal start. Jake says, when are you going back to Miami? Tomorrow morning. Richard says, my name is Richard from Brazil. Very cool. Hello, everybody from Brazil. Jackie Jackson says, you had me taking notes, Tom. Such an interesting stream tonight. Thank you, Jackie. Jackie Jackson. Hope you had a good Halloween. The ABX girl is still here. Says, yes, Oklahoma and Pennsylvania. So is that true, everybody? So fracking is actually causing earthquakes. I did not know that. That's very interesting. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research on that. Could anybody drop a link of a reputable source explaining what's going on with that? Hey, Rav R says, Tom, what nationality are you? Half and half Irish Italian. Hey, Razzle Dazzle's here. So Razzle Dazzle is our pal from California. She's an MRI technologist. She's fantastic. So Razzle Dazzle, thank you for being here. We're going back to Miami tomorrow. Photos from around New York says 100% fracking causes earthquakes. Well, that's terrible. So really, really terrible. Felix says, hey Tom, buenos noches. Starting a new productive week. I hope you're well, my friend. Thank you, Felix. Sally says, you're so welcome, Tom. Ed Potke from Corning, New York. Corning has the Corning Museum of Glass. Very beautiful up there. Says, not to mention the horrible pollution. Jake says, how long are you there for? We'll be in Miami until Thanksgiving. Mariners fan says, did you make your train last night? Just barely. We just barely made the train. Bella Hare says, good evening, great video, continued success, safe travels, thank you. Joel NC says, do you speak other languages? Annyeonghaseyo, irimi moyo, John and Tom EAO. A little bit of Korean. I'm getting better at my Korean, but we'll get there. If you want to say have a nice weekend in Korean, it's Jeonjumal Bune. Jeonjumal Bune. And then I have to work tomorrow is Naneo Il Heate. Jetstar says, a year ago we were energy independent and now we're buying Saudi oil and importing it. So sad. It's definitely terrible. Horrible. I agree. What do you think the fix to that is, Jetstar? What do you think? I'd be curious to see your understanding. Austin Tennis says, Tom, what is your go-to bulgogi spot in the city? It's this place called Take 31. Take 31. Fantastic. You got to try it. Austin Tennis, if you're ever in the city, bulgogi is on me, my friend. Amir says, Zap Allen, you're right. Marty Lewis says, I read a book about the oil business, and there have been several earthquakes in Oklahoma since they started fracking there. Jack D says, what town on Long Island? Massapequa. Moon FXR says, hey Tom, love your streams, but have to tell you it's way better at 0.25 video speed setting. Thank you, Moon, appreciate it. Matt says, I'm an hour from Corning, New York as well. Warren Drew says, NMD stock and Overstock are killing it. Warren Drew says, crude oil futures, $84. Yeah, so I still hold that thesis that crude oil, we will see $100 crude oil before the end of the year. That's my thesis. I do think that we will see $100 crude oil. If you want to check the price of crude or the futures, it's the CL futures contracts, ticker symbol CL. CL. Jetstar says politics. Yeah, I think you're right. Hey, Ron says, hey, Tom. Hello, and thanks for the great stream. Thank you, Ron. We are here on 38th Street, headed uptown. Jack D says, Seinfeld is from Massapequa. Indeed, he is. Seinfeld and the Baldwins. So both of the Baldwins actually went to high school with my parents at Berna High School in Massapequa. The Swan says, if global warming is man-made, well, then what killed the dinosaurs? Alan Wilson says, I wish you would leave the stream up so we see if you make the train. It's always so close, I know. I just don't want to get anybody upset filming in the train station because some of these people are crazy here. Hey, Photos from Around New York says the mayoral vote is tomorrow. So Photos from Around New York, who are the two main candidates? It's de Blasio and that other guy that used to be an NYPD officer, right? Hey, Cynthia Martinez is here. What's up, Cynthia? Hope you're having a great start to the week. Happy Monday to our pal, Cynthia Martinez. The Austin Tenants says, I miss the streams where you used to leave the camera on the balcony. Oh, I know. Austin Tennis, we may have to do that again. British Grace says, Tom, what time do you have to be at Penn Station? I'll let you know what time. Right now it is 10:30. I think I should head out pretty soon. PowerPoint 39 says, Marty Lewis, a lot of books are fiction, and that seems to be about Oklahoma. Zap Balance says, Eric Adams will get it. Ren says, yeah, Fernando almost got hurt when he was filming in the subway one time. What's your favorite music? I like the Rat Pack, if anybody's ever heard of the Rat Pack. So you think about Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, all the original, all the old timers, all the good guys. Jack D says the election is rigged. Adams will win no matter what. Interesting take. Austin Tennis says, Tom, don't stay out too late. You've got an early flight in the morning. I know. Austin Tennis, we do. DM says, how to move TP, New York City, from Asia. I think the easiest way is probably with an H-1B visa. That's how the majority of my friends from China and Korea came to the United States. Joel NC says, is there a book stand in New York City? I believe so. Randy says, is it true that there's trash everywhere? It doesn't look like it on the stream. It's not that bad here. It's not that bad. So this is the New York Public Library, the brand new one. And if you want to use the Bloomberg terminals, they're for free on the 5th floor at the International Business Center. Wolf of Wall Street says most of the trash comes from tourists from the Midwest. Oof. I will not confirm or deny that, Wolf of Wall Street, but yeah, we'll leave it at that. Marty Lewis says the book I read was not fiction. I have read more than one about the oil business. The book is called Blowout by Rachel Maddow. It's about Russia, particularly the oil business. I'm gonna have to check that out. Let me screenshot that. I always love reading books, no matter if it's written by a Democrat or Republican. It's good to see both sides of the story. Ed Podcast says, hope you got some furniture for your new home. Appreciate that. Jose says, I work a half a block away. This is a beautiful area, Jose. You work in a great neighborhood. We're on the corner of East 40th Street. So for everybody who's just joining, we're gonna do a quick rundown of ZoomInfo's earnings real quick. I knew we did it ad infinitum, but there's some new people that just joined the stream. So ZoomInfo is a company that actually helps sales and marketing organizations at companies, not only in the SMB space, but also in the enterprise and strategic. So ZoomInfo came in at 13 cents in their EPS, so beating earnings by 1 cent. So analysts were expecting ZoomInfo to report an EPS of 12 cents. The biggest beat here was the revenue. Revenue came in at about $197.6 million, beating estimates by 7.80%. Pretty big beat. Also, revenue is up 60% year over year, quarter. And just to note, ZoomInfo, over the past 4 quarters, they have beaten analyst expectations 4 quarters in a row. That is some phenomenal stuff. So adjusted operating gross margins coming in at 39%, unlevered free cash flow 23% up year over year. So unlevered free cash flow, you could think about, it's just net of interest payments. So that's what unlevered free cash flow means. Maybe on a behind the stream show or behind the desk stream, we could sort of go down into what some of these metrics actually mean. But unlevered free cash flow margins come in at 37%. ZoomInfo now has 25,000 paying customers. And the most important metric that I look for is customers that are paying over $100,000. Because at a lot of these SaaS businesses or software as a service, in order to really have sticking power or staying power, you need to prove to Wall Street that Fortune 500 companies and Fortune 50 companies are signing up for your products and services and are actually paying for them. So Fortune 500 companies and Fortune 50 companies tend to have very large organizational sales forces, so they tend to pay a lot of money for these products and services. So ZoomInfo now has 1,250 customers that are billing over $100,000 per year. So phenomenal, and that keeps growing. And last but not least, to top it all off, not only did ZoomInfo beat on both the top and the bottom line, they guided higher for the full fiscal year. So this is what you call a beat and raise quarter. The stock does trade at a pretty premium valuation, but that tends to be the case these days of artificially low interest rates. Warren Drew says, so if I paid $60 for Tesla and it splits 10 to 1, now I'm paying $6 a share. No. Marty Lewis has just looked up Google. That is also wastewater disposal has caused some earthquakes in Oklahoma as well. Sparkling Blessing says hi. What's up, Sparkling Blessing? Hope you're well. Melissa Perez is here. Says hi. How are you, Melissa Perez? Warren Drew says stocks are my favorite food. Tito says, hey, I'm just in New York City for vacations. Very cool. I think you're going to love it here, and welcome to New York. We're happy to have you. Sparkling says it doesn't matter, rich or poor, you have life. I agree with that. That's something I can get behind. Photos from Around New York says Blowout by Rachel Maddow is part about Oklahoma and also about future of oil globally, which we've discussed before. I'm gonna have to check that out. Very cool. Very, very cool. Jonathan Richards says, Tom, I love the Rat Pack's music too. You should check out Jerry Vale. I will check him out. Let me screenshot that actually, Jonathan. Hey, Soho is here. What's up, Soho? Good to see you. Hope you're having a good one. So let's cross over. We are here at the Steven Schwartzman building. That concludes our topic for the night. I'm not going to go over it anymore, but I appreciate everybody being here. ZoomInfo is the topic for tonight. If you want to learn more, feel free to watch the beginning of the stream. And this is in no way a video to promote you to buy this particular stock. It's just about getting you guys in the idea about some things to look for in particular companies. And I'm just using ZoomInfo as an example, right? I'm not saying go out and buy the stock. All I'm saying is if you're looking for investments out there, you should 9 times out of 10 look for investments in companies that are earning, that are earning money, right? That are growing their earnings over time, that are growing their revenues, that are growing their free cash flows, that have phenomenal return on equity. You know, these are the type of characteristics you should look for. Joel says, so great, Tom. Thank you, Joel, for being in here. The Mighty Bull says, capitalism is going to destroy the middle class. I think capitalism will bring back the middle class. I think what we have now is corporatist socialism. So with world central banks printing a bunch of money, it's actually benefiting the 1%, because it's not income inequality. What you have to think about is not income inequality, it's wealth inequality. And if you look at the exact correlation between the Federal Reserve's balance sheet and the prices of equities and the prices of real estate, there's a direct correlation. So as the Fed continues to buy treasuries, as the Fed continues to buy mortgage-backed securities, as they continue to leave interest rates artificially suppressed, This in turn inflates asset prices. And if we look at the data, who owns all of the assets in America? It's the 1%ers, right? So during the coronavirus pandemic, the Federal Reserve dropped interest rates to near zero and started printing a bunch of money. So when everybody was stuck away in their houses, not able to earn any income, the 1% were getting richer and richer and richer every day because the stock market was going gangbusters as it continues to blow through new record highs, record highs, record highs. So all of the politicians in Congress, both Republicans and Democrats, are not only getting paid when we all have to stay home, but they own millions of dollars worth of stock on both the Democrat and the Republican side. So it's not capitalism that's destroying the middle class. It's corporate socialism enacted by the Federal Reserve. Hey, The Rock is here, the one and only The Rock. What's up, Dwayne? Small businesses are being destroyed by government policies. I agree with that. Ed Pocky says the Federal Reserve is not even federal. Indeed. Lisa says 95% of monarch butterflies have died due to global warming. Well, that's a very depressing statistic. We need to reverse that immediately. I'm not sure how, but we need to. Hey, Mike. What's up, Mike? Cynthia says Tom DMYC should consider a Wall Street scapegoat. Sick plug. What's up, Cynthia? Buy the book. Says I need to take notes when you talk about stocks. Tom, so knowledgeable. Buy the book. I'm very happy you're here. It's freezing outside, guys. I got to get inside. Bruce Wayne says, watch Pelosi's husband's deals, all insider trading. That is true, but it's not just Nancy Pelosi. It's the Republicans, too, that do it. Rick says, what about space? Is that the future of investing in space travel one day? Do I play any mobile games? Says Ice. I do not play any mobile games. Zap Allen says, these are the people we elect. If you don't like the politics, elect somebody else. Says Zap Allen. Very cool. Very true, actually. Zap Allen. Laura says, aren't you supposed to be in Miami? We are supposed to be in Miami. However, we will be there tomorrow morning, Laura. But Laura Mendez, happy Monday. As we're looking at the brand new, One Vanderbilt. There we go. I just lost the name. Now I got it back. One Vanderbilt. As we are across the street from the beautiful, the one and only, the Bryant Park Grill. Look at how nice this looks in here, guys. We'll check it out before they run us out of here. Phenomenal in here. Doesn't it look great? Yeah, it looks really good in there. I like these little lamp posts too. Very cool. DD says One Vanderbilt, which you can climb to the top outside while tethered to a railing for as little as $100. Very interesting. So I appreciate everybody joining the stream tonight. We may have to end it early, but I appreciate you being here. If you guys like this sort of content, we tried to stream 5 days per week, and we mainly talk about finance, so we'll go over different topics. During earnings season, we've been talking a lot about earnings this past couple weeks because we are in the height of earnings season. So if you like this sort of content, feel free to subscribe to the channel and leave the video a like. And right on time, EBITDA, what is up? It says, hey Tom, hope you had a nice start to the week. You too, EBITDA. The topic for today, EBITDA, we were talking about ZoomInfo. We did a deep dive into their earnings. This is the 5th consecutive quarter that they posted a beat and raise. So ZoomInfo, the CEO is Henry Schuck. I do have a position. My cost basis is pretty low. One of the things that's a little bit concerning is they did do another secondary. However, this tends to be a little bit normal, especially, I believe, their number one investors, the Carlyle Group, which actually owned a significant stake in ZoomInfo, or Discover Org, they were called before they went public. But in IPOs, that is essentially what it is. It is the transfer of ownership from the private markets to the public. So I think the firm who owns the most amount of ZoomInfo, I believe, is the Carlyle Group. Ed Pocket says, wow, that's a lot of garbage, as we are outside the Bank of China. Obama says car equals Avis number. Headless Horseman says, is the skate park from Home Alone still there? I'm not sure about that, actually. The Austin Tennis says, is this Bryant Park? This is. So this is 42nd Street, Bryant Park. I think this is actually called Nikola Tesla Way. Starving Artist says, good night, Tom, put a coat on. I'm gonna have to take my sweatshirt off tomorrow. I'm gonna be in the 80-degree heat of Miami. Zap Balance says, oh my God, I saw my first Christmas commercial just a few minutes ago. No way. They're really cranking it out early this year, aren't they? So West 40th Street, Nikola Tesla corner. Joel NC says, Tom, you are enacting a professional lesson plan without officially doing one. Great job. Hilarious. EBITDA says, I like ZoomInfo, but I feel like things are moving away from cold calling eventually. They are a good company, though, especially given all the data, which could be used for many things. Yeah, so I believe that is the whole premise of ZoomInfo. And ZoomInfo has personally made me literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in my sales career. So ZoomInfo is essentially uses AI technology to, remove essentially the cold calling and the traditional sales and marketing tactics from a salesperson's life. They use different AI techniques and analytics to understand what CEOs or chief technology officers at different companies are searching. So for example, if you have a chief technology officer that has a lot of search history, searching about, MDM solutions or SD-WAN. Let's say if a company is currently on a traditional MPLS network. So for those of you who don't know what an MPLS network, it's just those old multi-protocol switch labeling services. So you think about traditional telecom. But in this modern world, and I used to sell some of this too, but in this modern world, we have a decentralized workforce, right? So how are you going to control, how are you going to manage your IT infrastructure remotely? One of the ways you can do that is through something called SD-WAN, or a software-defined wide area network. So a lot of companies are moving or migrating from MPLS to SD-WAN. So let's say, for example, a chief technology officer is looking that up. That's in his search trends. It'll show up on ZoomInfo that says, hey, this CTO at this company, they're interested in buying an SD-WAN service. So that'll ping you or the sales rep at that company, and then you can place a call or an email and says, hey, I'm Tom from so-and-so, from Zscaler or Fortinet or whatever, and you can pitch them your products or services because you already know that's what they're looking for. So it's a phenomenal service. The data they have is massive. I think the only threat to ZoomInfo's business is the way they collect data. So essentially, they just scrape data from the internet, and that could be not within compliance with some rules and regulations globally, so that's definitely something to watch. So that is definitely a risk in terms of how they garner and gather people's personal information. Hey, Quant, what's up, Quant? Good to see you. Joyce Carter says, hi, Tom. Oh my God, remember me in the live stream? Joyce, I do. Hope you're well, Joyce. We are here on West 40th Street. Zap Balance says, I've never heard of ZoomInfo, Tom, but I'll have to look it up. So Zap, you're in sales. I'm surprised you've never heard of ZoomInfo. Maybe you use some sort of other lead generation tool. EBITDA says, BAML is not allowed to use ZoomInfo anymore. Ooh, I wonder what happened there. Maybe you guys went to a competitor. Very interesting. Zap Allen, a lot of people, what's a big competitor of ZoomInfo? A lot of people, I'm not sure if anybody here uses it, but they just use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great tool for prospecting, but I think mainly if you're in tech sales, I think ZoomInfo is probably a little bit superior, especially because it has great integration with any sort of CRM you use. I've always used Salesforce, but... And one of the encouraging things about ZoomInfo is now that they have 1,250 customers that are billing over 100,000. So what that means is that they're breaking into the C-suite or the enterprise, as I like to say. So in a sales organization, you could either sell into SMB, which is small and medium-sized businesses. You could sell into enterprise accounts, which technically tend to be like which technically happen to be like Fortune 500 or higher, Fortune 50, and then you could also sell into the public sector if you wanted to. So if you have customers that are paying you $100,000 a year, those are probably big accounts. You know, those are probably large customers. I think they just closed GitHub as a customer and a couple different colleges, but I'll have to see. If you put in !ZI in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the investor letter, the ZoomInfo investor letter. It will drop it in the chat. I see Melanie says, my job is at LinkedIn. I start next week. That's freaking awesome. Excuse my language, but I see Melanie, you rock. You're gonna love LinkedIn. I have a lot of friends who work at LinkedIn right here in the Empire State Building. Phenomenal company, owned by Microsoft, so a subsidiary of Microsoft. Congratulations on that. That's awesome. Melanie, congratulations. That's phenomenal. Hey, Diana Lee, thank you so much for the thermal clothes fund. £5. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate the support. I see Melanie says, oh, thanks. I'm so excited. You're going to do great. Are you in, what position are you in? You don't have to disclose that if you don't want to, but are you in a sales, role? Quan says, I've started to say phenomenal a lot. Thanks, Tom. That's hilarious. Natty says, happy Halloween. Sal Mendes says, hope everybody had a great Halloween. I hope you did it too. Hey, Ren10 is here. Ren1018. What's going on, Ren1018? Joyce Carter, how are you? Headless Horseman. Charlie Richardson. Always good to see you, Charlie. British Grace says, good Monday evening, EBITDA. Sabrina Fair, ZoomInfo is located in my city. I think ZoomInfo is located in Washington, I believe. Is that correct? What are your hobbies besides finance and skateboarding? I like soccer. I'll play soccer here and there. I played in college. Bruce Wayne. What's up, Bruce Wayne? Good to see you. So EBITDA is a good friend of the stream. EBITDA works on Wall Street at BAML, Bank of America Merrill Lynch. So EBITDA is always in here providing some very good insights. So we appreciate him for that. Oh, Sabrina Fair says, yes, Vancouver, Washington. Yes, ZoomInfo's headquarters is located in Washington. I think they actually just opened up a satellite office somewhere in Toronto, I believe. I think so. I think I was reading about that a couple days ago. The Austin Tennis says, do you ever make it out to see any New York Red Bulls games? So one of my buddies, Connor Lade, used to play for the Red Bulls. So when he played for them, I always used to go out and check it out. I don't know him like that well, but he was always fun to watch. But that's in New Jersey. They play in New Jersey, in Harrison, New Jersey, I believe. Troy1995 says, maybe that's why you can speak Korean. A lot of phenomenal Korean soccer players. Uncle Dave 74 says, good evening, everybody. What's up, Uncle Dave 74? NJB says, I think it's pretty cool. You can see the World Trade Center and Empire State Building from the same time in the ground. So I wonder what they're doing here. It looks like they're putting up Christmas lights, maybe. Hey, I see Melanie says, yeah, I'm in a semi-sales role in marketing solutions. Well, congratulations. That's awesome. Keep us updated on how you like the new role, but that's phenomenal. I'm so happy for you. I'm actually going to give... I just put a congrats in the chat with a couple Mighty Bulls. Jonathan says, I'm really liking the new One Vanderbilt building. Looks beautiful. Yeah, I gotta get up there. I've never been up there yet, but I will get up there very soon. Joyce Carter says, I'm signing out early. Good night. Hey, Joyce, take it easy. I'll talk to you later. Joel NC says, have you ever worked on Wall Street or rung the bell? I have never worked on Wall Street. I did an internship at a hedge fund when I was in college. But I do some consulting with one of my buddy's firms. But I have never worked on Wall Street. I've only worked in tech. Originally, I wanted to be in sales and trading at one of the major investment banks. But then I went into tech sales. The Mighty Bull says, does the 1% care about the general public's well-being? Mighty Bull, interesting question. I would say yes. Well, I think that you have to I mean, there's a lot of people in the 1% all over the world that have gotten their money from a myriad of ways. Like a Pablo Escobar, he's a 1%. I don't know if he's, the best role model. Sunshine after rain, what is going on? So we are on the corner of West 35th Street and Broadway. Empire State Building is classic white, looks great. Hey, Wesley West says, hey, what's up, Wesley West? Lady O, hope you had a good one. Mariners fans says, have you ever been to MSG? Yes. Austin Tennis says, did Connor play for John Jay too? No, he played for St. John's University. St. John's. So one of my friends that I played college soccer with played on the Dominican Republic national team. So he was usually out half the season when he would have to do his international team duty. So he played in the World Cup qualifiers for, I believe, the U18 or the U21. U21 World Cup qualifiers for the Dominican Republic national team. And he went to Baruch, Cosmo Scary's alma mater. So this is Macy's. Let's see if we can get the Macy's shot in with the Empire State Building. Not bad. Floob says, your take on options trading. I think you have to be very well versed in the derivatives market. And I think a lot of retail investors don't understand what options actually are. For example, there's a lot of things that go into pricing options. You have your delta, your gamma, your theta, your vega, your rho. So options really depends upon volatility. It depends on time to expiration. So I think people, especially retail investors on Robinhood, they say, I'm just going to buy a bunch of options. And they really don't even understand what they're buying, because in the options market, if you're buying options, you really have to be right on three things. You have to be right in your market timing or your direction. And you have to be right in terms of the volatility, right? Because sometimes you could buy an options contract, the stock will move the correct way that you wanted it to, and then you still lose money. And you're like, well, how the hell did that happen? Well, because you probably bought when the VIX was very inflated. Let's say if you are buying call contracts on a stock that you really like, going into earnings, and the stock gaps up 3 or 4%, how come the price of my options contract actually went down? Well, you have to take into account volatility. So there's something in the options market called a volatility crush or a volatility contraction. So let's say you're buying a call contract when the VIX is at 35, and then overnight the VIX drops to 17. Well, that's going to suck all of the volatility premium built in that option out of the option, and the option's actually now going to be worth less than what you paid for, even though the stock moved in the appropriate direction. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration in the options market. And I think one of the biggest, I think they're putting up the Christmas lights here, aren't they? I think one of the biggest things to take into account in the options market is a lot of retail investors will buy a lot of very cheap, out-of-the-money options. But as anything, in the options market, market makers price options for a reason. So if a stock or if the option is out of the money, which essentially means the strike price, it's not in the money, right? So there's three forms of, I guess there's three terminologies. You could be in the money, you could be at the money, or you could be out of the money. In the money, it means your strike price is within the parameters of that price. So let's say if Apple's trading at $100 and you buy a strike price of 110, that would be in the money. But if you buy a strike price of, let's say, $90, it's out of the money, or it's in the money. The other way around. You sort of get what I'm explaining. So what I just explained, but reversed. EBITDA says I do a lot of covered calls on stocks I own. Yeah, that's great. I am using a bull call spread to make a little money on the money I owe for taxes in April. I think that's phenomenal. So EBITDA, the only time I'll ever dabble in the options market is if I have a big position on going into earnings, and I think that the stock could potentially drop short term, but I'm still bullish on it. So I'll probably just sell calls on that. But for me, I mean, I know a lot of people who make a lot of money trading options. I'm just not skilled to do that. I'm not, like, me personally, I never had success with it. I'm not a good options trader. So I just stick with what I'm good at. And I am definitely not good at trading options at all. EBITDA is exactly, that is what I'm using them for in the earnings. Yeah, so EBITDA, Atlassian, like I have a whopper Earthshaker position in Atlassian. I sold a little bit to put some money down on my house, but in this earnings season, Atlassian gapped up, I think 8%. I sold a couple calls on it just because I was a little worried, because this market is pretty much priced to perfection. So even if a company meets analyst expectations, the stock's going to get clocked after hours. Really, the only stocks that have been reacting well to earnings were all earnings beats. Even if you meet analyst expectations in this environment, they're going to clock you. They're going to take you down a couple points. So I lost money on that, but that's just the insurance you have to pay. All right, everybody. We got to end it. We're here at the one and only Long Island Railroad. EBITDA is exactly stick with what you know. I agree. I'm a terrible options trader. I cannot make money for the life of me in the options market, so I just stay away from it. I'm not saying that you guys can. You guys probably can. I'm not particularly skilled at many things, trust me. Hey, Melee is here. Good to see you. Storm Chaser. Just have a safe flight. Thanks, everybody. Brandy says, sounds good, take care. Charlie Richardson says, bye. King Jake says, I just wanted to let you know, playa. Sounds good. Back to Massapequa. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Hope you had a phenomenal start to the week. Happy November. Kind of crazy to say, but we are in November. Make it a productive week. Don't work too hard. And I'll see you all right back here tomorrow. Hopefully we will be in Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, please God. And to the Mighty Bull, have a good night to the Mighty Bull wherever you are, because there is always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. So I'll see you guys in the next one, and have a great Tuesday.